I never believed in anything paranormal. At least, not until that night. A few years ago, my boyfriend invited me to spend the weekend at his house. The place was deep in the countryside. No neighbors. No streetlights. Just miles of trees and darkness. It felt peaceful during the day. At night, it felt completely different. Around 2 a.m. I woke up suddenly. At first, I didn't know why. Then I heard it. A deep humming sound. It wasn't loud. But somehow, I could feel it more than hear it. The entire room seemed to vibrate. The glass on the bedside table rattled. The walls shook slightly. My boyfriend sat up instantly. "You hear that too?" he asked. I nodded. The sound grew stronger. Stronger. And stronger. Then suddenly. Boom. The whole house shook. It felt like something massive had crashed nearby. We jumped out of bed. The lights flickered. Outside the window, the sky lit up with bright flashes. Not lightning. Something else. The flashes were white. Almost blinding. And completely silent. My phone lost signal. His phone lost signal too. The television turned itself on for a second. Then off. Every electronic device in the house started acting strangely. That was when my boyfriend froze. "What is that?" he whispered. I followed his gaze toward the backyard. At first, I saw nothing. Then I noticed movement. 2 figures. Standing near the tree line. They looked human. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. They weren't walking. They were swaying. Slowly. Back and forth. Like they were floating. Neither of them moved closer. Neither of them moved away. They just stood there. Watching. I felt my stomach drop. My boyfriend grabbed a flashlight. The second he pointed it toward them. They disappeared. Just gone. No running. No movement. Nothing. The backyard was empty. For a few seconds, everything became quiet. Too quiet. Then we heard footsteps. Inside the house. Heavy footsteps. Coming from downstairs. We stared at each other. Nobody else was supposed to be there. The footsteps continued. Slow. Deliberate. One step at a time. Then came the sound that terrified me most. The front door slammed open. We heard it clearly. Bang. A few seconds later. Another door. Bang. Then another. Bang. Every locked door downstairs seemed to be flying open. My boyfriend grabbed a baseball bat. Neither of us wanted to go downstairs, but we had no choice. We slowly walked toward the staircase. The footsteps stopped. The house became silent again. When we finally reached the first floor, every door was open. Exactly as we had heard. But nobody was there. No intruder. No broken windows. Nothing. Just silence. We called the police. It took nearly 30 minutes for them to arrive. By then, the strange lights were gone. The humming sound was gone. Everything looked normal. The officers searched the property. The backyard. The woods. The road. Everywhere. They found nothing. One officer pointed out something strange. The ground outside was covered in mud from recent rain. If anyone had been standing near the trees, there should have been footprints. There weren't. Not a single one. No footprints. No tire tracks. Nothing. The police eventually left. And life slowly returned to normal. But even now, years later, I still remember those 2 figures standing at the edge of the woods. Watching us. Waiting. And sometimes I wonder. What would have happened if they had decided to come closer? I thought I was going crazy. That's the only explanation I had. Because for 3 nights, I watched lights dance across a lake. And what happened on the final night still keeps me awake. A few years ago, my life completely fell apart. My girlfriend left me. The breakup was ugly. Every day felt heavier than the last. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. I just wanted to disappear for a while. So my parents offered me their old lakeside cabin. It sat far from town. No neighbors. No traffic. Nothing but water, trees, and silence. At the time, that sounded perfect. I had no idea what was waiting for me there. The first night was peaceful. I sat on the porch around midnight. The lake looked like black glass. Not a single ripple. Not a single sound. Then I noticed something strange. A tiny light floating above the water. At first, I thought it was a boat. But there were no boats on that lake. The light wasn't moving normally either. It hovered. Completely still. Almost like it was watching me. I stared at it for several minutes. Then suddenly, it vanished. Just gone. No fading. No movement. 1 second it existed. The next second it didn't. I convinced myself I was tired and went inside. The second night was different. The light came back. But this time it wasn't alone. There were 3 of them. Floating over the middle of the lake. My stomach tightened immediately. The lights began moving. Not drifting. Not blowing in the wind. Moving. Deliberately. Like they were following instructions. One rose upward. Another dropped lower. The third circled around them. The pattern repeated again and again. It looked intelligent. That was the part one couldn't explain. I grabbed my phone. The second I pointed the camera toward them, the lights stopped moving. Every single one. As if they knew I was recording. I remember feeling a chill run down my spine. Then all 3 lights shot across the lake. Faster than anything I've ever seen. My camera captured nothing but a blur. And just like that, they disappeared. I barely slept that night. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. Because no matter how scared I was, I needed to see them again. The third night arrived. And that's when everything changed. Around 1 a.m. the lights appeared again. This time they were much closer. Close enough to see their reflection on the water. There were at least 6 of them. Maybe more. I stepped outside. The air felt strangely heavy. The lake was silent. The trees were silent. Everything felt wrong. The lights started moving toward each other. Slowly. Carefully. Almost like they were gathering. One by one, they merged together. 6 lights became 5. 5 became 4. 4 became 3. Until finally, there was only one. A massive glowing orb hanging over the lake. I couldn't look away. The thing was enormous. Far bigger than any light I'd seen before. It pulsed. Bright. Dim, bright. Dim, like a heartbeat. And then, it started moving toward the cabin. My heart nearly stopped. The orb crossed the lake without making a sound. No engine. No wind. Nothing. Just silent movement. Closer. 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 I remember taking a step backward. Then another. The light reached the shoreline. And for a moment, everything around me became white. The trees. The grass. The cabin. Everything glowed. Then the orb exploded. Not like a bomb. Not like fireworks. Something stranger. Hundreds of smaller lights burst from it, shooting in every direction. Into the woods. Across the yard. Over the roof. Through the trees. The entire area lit up like daylight. I expected branches to catch fire. I expected windows to shatter. I expected something. Anything. But there was nothing. No sound. No damage. Nothing at all. The lights simply vanished. One by one. Until darkness returned. I stood there frozen. Unable to move. Unable to speak. The lake was calm again. The woods were quiet again. It was as if none of it had happened. The next morning, I searched everywhere. The shoreline. The trees. The yard. Nothing. No burn marks. No footprints. No broken branches. No evidence. It was like the lights had never existed. I left the cabin 2 days later. I've never gone back. And I've never seen those lights again. But sometimes, late at night, I find myself wondering something. If those lights were only passing through, then where were they going? And what would have happened, if they had stopped at my door?